Okay, well, we'll get going because it is 12 o'clock and we've got a lot to get through today. I know there'll be people maybe a few minutes late joining, but we'll make a start. So welcome very much to our December 2024 Learn and Share webinar. We're thrilled to have you with us today and do truly appreciate you taking the time to join us. Please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat and let us know where you're tuning in from today. So your chat functionality should just be at the top, and yeah, let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. We're delighted to see lots of familiar faces on the session and some new ones too, which is great. Hi Dan, thank you for popping that up. As many of you know, our HE Learn and Share sessions are held every other month, with our last one being in October. These webinars are a fantastic opportunity to share best practices, celebrate the incredible work happening in the HE sector, and just take a moment to reflect on our collective achievements. Let's try and make this session interactive and engaging, so please do pop any comments, thoughts in the chat box as well. Hi Helen, lovely to see you today. Your insights and experiences are what make this webinar so valuable. Thank you once again for being here, and let's get started. So what an exciting lineup we have today. I'm thrilled to welcome Lee and Anna from Edinburgh Napier University. Their insights and experiences are sure to be incredibly valuable. I'm Jane Tidswell, your host for today, and as the HE sector lead here at People Insight, I've had the pleasure of working with the HE sector for well over 15 years now, focusing on staff listening programmes. And we've been collaborating with Edinburgh Napier University here at PI since 2022, and it's been a fantastic journey. Here's a quick rundown of our agenda for today. So I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction to People Insight for those who are new to us. I'll provide a brief overview of who we are and what we do. I'm also excited to share some of the latest updates and developments from People Insight too. And then we'll dive into the main event. So Lee and Anna will share their colleague voice journey, experience from Edinburgh Napier University, discuss their approach to action planning, the decisions that they've been making based on the listening insights and the communication strategies, as well as some lessons learned along the way too. We have got some time for question and answers, so if there's anything that pops into your mind or anything you want to ask, please do drop your questions or thoughts in the chat as we go through the session. And then finally, we'll wrap up hopefully just before noon. Just before 1, sorry, not noon, just before 1 p.m. Thank you once again for joining us, and let's get started. So before we do dive into today's content, I'd just like to share some housekeeping tips to help you get the most out of the session. So first, we've packed this session with lots of insights for you to take away. So to revisit these insights later, you will receive an email after the webinar with a link to like a playback, and we can provide any slides afterwards as well. Just let us know. If you do hear something today that piques your interest and you'd like to learn more, don't hesitate to get in contact. We are here to help. And finally, and since you're taking the time to hear from us, we do want your feedback. Your feedback is crucial for making this and future learn and share sessions as beneficial as possible. So now, before we begin and we kick off today's session, let's start with a fun icebreaker. So as a fun starter, let's play a quick game to get everyone in the holiday spirit. I do have my Christmas jumper on here as well, my mini Christmas jumper. And I do believe that Anna and Lee also, you have your Christmas jumpers on. So thank you very much for that, ladies. I'm not sure if anyone else in the audience has got their Christmas jumpers on, but we wanted to bring a bit of a holiday cheer. So for this Christmas movie emoji quiz then, I prepared a few Christmas movie titles and I've represented each one with a series of emojis. So here's the first one. What I want you to do is your task is to guess the movie titles based on the emojis. And if you think you know, pop the response in the chat. So that's the first one. Second one. And the third one coming up. So let's see how many can get any. I'll give you just a few seconds, and I am really hoping that my People Insight colleagues on this call are partaking in this quiz too. Well done, Dan. I can see you've got the third one correct. The Polar Express, it is for the third one. So let's see if anyone else can, any of the other ones. So first one, yeah, Lynn, thank you, Lynn, from People Insight's got Home Alone there. Correct. Okay, we'll have a quick look at what they were. So the first one was Santa Claus is Coming to Town, classic. Second one, Home Alone. I know my boys love Home Alone, and one of them thinks they are Kevin. And the third one, yeah, the Polar Express. Well done, Dan. I can't see what everyone's written because of the one I'm seeing on my screen, but I'll have a look later to see how many people got them right. So well done, and thank you for taking part in that. So moving on to the session then, I'd like to introduce People Insight for those of you who may not be familiar with us. So our mission is to be the most actionable employee experience platform powered by people, and we achieve this through 3 key pillars. So our platform enables you to run comprehensive employee voice survey activities, including life cycle surveys, moment that matter surveys, engagement surveys, Pulse, REC, Athena Swan, and even qualitative workshop insights too, designed to capture the full spectrum of those employee experiences. And then our wonderful people. So I'm so privileged to work with an incredible team here at People Insight who are experts and specialise in the HE sector. We've got in-house technical support running the platform in the background, the project managers, OD specialists, communication, and our coaches as well. Each member dedicated to helping our clients maximise the value of their staff listening activities. And action. While action is an easy word to say, it's very challenging sometimes to implement. So our team and our technology are there to help and support to make meaningful changes post-survey and guiding you through the process, ensuring that people are engaged and involved in that action element and action journey. In terms of our work in higher education, we have a dedicated HE team serving our wonderful clients. It's truly a privilege to collaborate with so many amazing and passionate HEIs, witnessing the dedication across the sector to give a voice to staff, even in challenging times, and using those insights to drive meaningful change is incredibly inspiring. At People Insight, we partner with over 75 universities on their employee listening activities. And each university has its own unique listening strategy and programme, and we support with the execution of these strategies through a variety of different surveys and listening. We guide institutions on their journey, working closely with senior stakeholders, local team managers, and of course our lovely main client contacts as well to ensure a seamless process. We do have very strong, robust current HEI benchmarks as well, meaning that you can see how your results compare and you can put your results into context. Not only do we have the HE norms, we also have very granular benchmarking as well by different types of institution, but also by different demographic as well now. While surveying is our bread and butter, we are constantly listening and evolving our offer to the sector, and we've got a lot more activities that we can support with too, and I've just put some of them up there as well. Now, I'm excited to share some thrilling updates from People Insight. So first up, we've got Prism. Our groundbreaking generative AI technology is now available on our reporting platform. So Prism is designed to revolutionise how you gather and analyse employee feedback, providing deeper insights and more actionable data. Next up is our new update to our action planning area, so helping to support and to nudge managers to take action, which I'll tell you a little bit about more in a minute. And lastly, we've got enhanced support for local areas, and we've expanded our support to better serve local teams, providing more tailored assistance and resources where needed. So Prism, welcome to our latest innovation, Prism, now integrated into the reporting platform. So imagine having a tool that not only analyses but also summarises the survey comments with incredible speed and precision. So Prism does just that, breaking down the feedback overall and by specific themes, efficiently uncovering underlying patterns and trends. But that's not all with Prism. You can dive deeper into your qualitative data, simply like chat with Prism. There's a chat functionality to ask detailed and targeted questions and get the insights you need. It doesn't just stop there as well, because it goes that step further by giving you high level and specific recommendations and actions, or thought starters, helping to empower your teams to make those decisions quickly and efficiently. What next, you may ask for Prism. So there's a lot going on with Prism and generative AI on the dashboard over the next 12 months. So we've got some enhanced data interpretation. So very, very soon, and I'm super excited about this, we'll be able to analyze both the qualitative and the quantitative data from a single survey, giving that more holistic view of the feedback. We're also looking to do more integrated data analysis, so with other organisational metrics, helping to look at connections between employee experience and organisational outcomes. We're also looking at cross-survey insights, so expect the ability to interpret themes across multiple surveys. So if you've got like a pulse survey, a full survey, maybe a joiners survey as well, to give that broad understanding of the organisation's listening and outputs. And then looking at trend as well. Prism being equipped to detect emerging trends across the employee life cycle and giving recommendations. So we're very excited with all the updates and developments on Prism that are coming very soon. And there's more exciting news on the horizon too, because we're thrilled to announce upcoming updates to our action planning functionality, designed to keep your local teams and managers informed, engaged every step of the way. So we've taken a step back to look at how we can support managers with that action planning. And the action planning functionality is great that we've got on the tool, but we wanted to help a little bit to give a few more nudges, we're calling them, and that means we can configure now things like when the results email, we can send a results email out to managers with a bit of an overview of the results and a link to the action planning area. So that's going to be available very soon if you wanted. And then also being able to send out action planning invitations as well, so they can invite users to participate in action planning, and you can set the timings of when that meets your rhythm and cadence. And we can also do things like action due reminders and congratulations emails too when people complete an action. So yeah, it's about just nudging managers to help them in their busy lives with that action planning side of things. And finally, we're excited to announce enhanced support for local areas. So we understand the importance of involving local teams, and that's why we've expanded our support to better serve them. So this means more tailored assistance and resources to help your local teams address specific challenges and seize opportunities. So they'll have everything they need, really, from a bit of a service menu. So we've created a comprehensive local service menu, and we've been collaborating with an increasing number of universities on this initiative. So leaders and managers are obviously at very different stages of implementing activities for their faculties, schools, departments and teams. So with a sort of local service menu, your teams will have access to specific support that they need based on their unique challenges. So we're here to help make sure that every local area can be supported, and we felt that having some sort of local menu would really help that, and we've been using that now with some of our university clients, and it's going really well. So do reach out if you want to discuss any of the new services and features. We're really excited, to partner to continue to evolve and develop. Now I'm thrilled to introduce our star guests, Lee and Anna. They will be sharing their incredible journey of colleague listening, providing insights and experiences. Over to you.
Thanks, Jane, and good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, I would just like to thank everybody for joining today, and also a special thank you to Jane and the team who have supported the colleague engagement journey at ENU, which we are going to share some of with you today. So firstly, just some quick introductions. I'm Lee Conlan. I'm Head of Reward, ER and Engagement, and I've been at the university now for nearly 34 years. So a long time working in a variety of different roles. And although I've previously been involved in engagement activity, this is the first role where I've led on activity for the university, and I've been in my current role for just under 2 years now. And I'll let Anna introduce herself.
Afternoon, everyone. I'm Anna Tippen. I've been at university for 7 years and in a variety of different roles within the people team as well. I've been in the reward and engagement partner role just since August, so not too long at all, but have been involved in the activity around engagement at the university since around November last year, in 2023.
Great, thanks, Anna. So just in relation to what we're going to cover today, please do pop into the chat, as Jane mentioned, if you've got any questions, or reach out to Anna and I after the session. We're happy to discuss anything in further detail with you. We thought it'd just be helpful to give a quick overview of what our structure looks like within the Reward, ER and Engagement team, a little bit about ENU, and then Anna's going to take us through our current colleague engagement journey to date, what we do for action planning at the university, and also the role of our senior leaders at the university. We'll talk about communication. We've sort of mixed up our communication a little bit following our last survey. And as Jane mentioned, there's always lessons learned along the way. So we'd like to share some of the improvements that we feel we've made, which will hopefully help us as we continue on our continuous listening journey. And then a little bit about what's next for us at ENU. So in terms of our structure is a new structure that's only been in place for just over a year now. So our Director in People and Services joined us 3 years ago, and she took some time to consider what was the right fit for us, and also in terms of what our structure should look like in terms of size and shape to help support the delivery of overall strategic priorities of the university. So we've got two teams. We've got a people and performance team, which covers the HR operations world, including payroll and systems, and they do all the processes across the employee life cycle. The partnering team also sit within that people performance team, as do talent development and talent acquisition. So the Reward, ER and Engagement team, we are very much focused on employee relations, our reward and recognition activity and engagement. It is a really new team. A lot of the roles were vacancies and newly created roles within our structure. We actually didn't increase our overall headcount of the people team structure, but because we'd had a lot of movement, it allowed us to really think and consider what we needed going forward. So in terms of engagement at the university, Anna and I play the key roles in driving that activity. So in terms of the university, I'm not going to say very much about the university. The detail is on the slides and you can read it at your leisure. We have 5 academic schools. We are based in Edinburgh. We are a post-92 institution. We've got over 20,000 students and we've got around 1,800 core staff. Just going to flip that one. That slide just gives a little bit more detail. So in terms of our strategic objectives, our strategy is available on our university website, but we have 4 key pillars of deliveries for the university in our current strategy. So we've got build careers, grow networks, I can't see it, my eyes are so bad, advance knowledge and grow sustainability. So everything that we do, all our objective setting at a school service level obviously aligns to our overall strategic objectives. What's really good to see is colleague engagement and experience is a top priority for the university. And this outlines our priority, which we are required to report on a monthly basis to our university leadership team. It also outlines what our KPIs are for colleague engagement. And what you can see, the colours, the little triangle colours, actually shows that this is a priority because it contributes to the delivery of each of our overall strategic objectives. So that obviously feeds down into our people strategy, where colleague engagement and experience is a priority for us. But in terms of for this year, I just thought it might be interesting for you to know some of our other priorities as a people team. We are developing a reward and recognition framework, which is something that we've been looking to do for some time, but it's also responding to feedback that we've got coming through our People Insight surveys. We've also doing a lot of work on promoting a culture and developing a feedback culture. So this has been focused on our leadership team and trying to foster that two-way feedback. And next year we're building on that session, and we're going to focus on recognition, and we're also playing a key focus on people manager capability development. We're also doing a massive review of all our policies. They haven't been reviewed for some time, and we are continuing to build a relationship with our recognised trade unions and progressing case activity. We're also doing a piece of work on reviewing our flexible workforce. As I said, we've got 1,800 staff, but we've also got a large flexible workforce population who come in and deliver ad hoc types of activities. So we just want to review that and make sure it aligns with our workforce planning models. So I'm going to pass over to Anna, who's going to take you through the detail of our colleague engagement journey. But I hope that background is just a little bit useful in terms of helping set the scene of who we are and what our priorities are for the university. Thanks, Anna.
Thanks, Lee. So as Lee said, I'm going to start by giving us a bit of a background to colleague engagement at Edinburgh Napier University. So since 2009, the university's carried out an all-colleague engagement survey every 2 years. There was a pause in delivering full engagement surveys due to a shift in the university's immediate priorities at the start of the pandemic in 2020. So between 2020 and 2021, the university conducted short pulse surveys which were carried out during the pandemic to understand a little bit more around specific topics such as wellbeing and hybrid working during that time. And the feedback from those surveys informed the current hybrid working principles that are in place at the university. So whilst we invited colleagues to feedback on a range of different themes over previous years through large colleague surveys, shorter pulse surveys, as well as focus groups, these methods provided a bit of a short snapshot in time view of colleague engagement, and there could be a bit of a lag between colleagues providing feedback, results being shared, and then action being taken. Then in 2022, as Jane mentioned, People Insight were appointed as our new survey partner, and the first all-colleague engagement survey, which we call Your Voice at Edinburgh Napier University, and we involved colleagues in deciding the name for. That was launched in November of 2022 in the same year. And People Insight really stood out to us due to the strong expertise in the sector and the HE benchmarks available. And for the first survey with People Insight, we used their managed survey approach. So this was with People Insight supporting us right through from survey design, build and set up, right through to dissemination of our results to our senior leadership team. Then moving on to 2023, the structure of our team, which Lee mentioned earlier, was formed and established, and following discussions with People Insight, our leadership team at the university endorsed a new continuous listening approach. So that was shifting away from large once every 2 years surveys and moving towards more frequent listening approach, incorporating additional listening points throughout the year. And this would help us to include measures of overall colleague engagement and achievement of our KPIs, whilst also seeking feedback on specific topics of interest. At that time, the ULT and SLT also approved timelines for a pulse survey in November 2023 and retained our commitment to undertake a final full all-colleague survey in June 2024 this year. Both the November 23 pulse survey and June 24 final colleague survey were delivered via the self-managed approach with People Insight. So this was the first of the surveys to be managed centrally within ENU's people team. And then looking forward to 2025, as we continue to a transition to continuous listening approach, we'll be able to monitor the pulse of the university in the moment and create ongoing dialogue with our colleagues. And this dialogue we hope will help to improve trust further and can lead to long-term improvements in colleague experience and performance, as well as the university's ability to retain talent. So we'll just move on now to talk through our survey journey so far with People Insight. So as I mentioned, in 2022, we partnered with People Insight to deliver the all-colleague survey in November that year. The survey remained open for over 3 weeks with a participation rate of 66%. That was 1,160 people out of 1,767 at the time responding to the survey. And we had an overall engagement score of 69%, which was in line with other higher education institutions from the benchmarking that we received from People Insight. For this survey, we used the managed survey approach, as I mentioned earlier. And again, that was People Insight supporting us right through from survey build and design through to dissemination of results to our senior leadership team. And from the November 22 survey, we found that only 34% of our colleagues believed that action would be taken as a result of their feedback. So action planning and regularly communicating progress updates was key for us to ensure that we could improve colleague trust. And I'll come on to talk a little bit more about that in the next few slides. Moving on to November 2023, we ran a pulse survey that year, and this allowed us to track and report on progress against our action plans, including targeted questions across the key themes which were identified as actions from the 2022 survey. So this was the first survey to be hosted and managed centrally within the People team. The pulse survey included 14 questions and 1 open-ended response. So we felt that this was quite a good way for us to test out the self-managed approach with People Insight, as it was not a full colleague survey. If it had been a full colleague survey with 40 plus questions, we might have been felt it was a bit more daunting for us, but we were supported throughout by People Insight for a successful launch. In terms of how we decided the questions for our pulse survey, we had the five questions residing in engagement to provide our overall engagement score. We had the 5 questions which most impact engagement at ENU, so they were the key engagement drivers which were unique to the university. We included 4 questions which were the key theme indicators to allow us to measure the impact of the university's 3 key themes which came from the 2022 survey. So they were focused around collaboration, performance and work wellbeing. And then finally we had the 1 open-ended question to help us understand the culture to support the wider People team and university initiatives. And that question was describing a couple of sentences what it feels like to work at the university. In terms of the results from our pulse survey, this demonstrated that we were trending in the right direction. So since 2022, our participation rate was 63% for the pulse survey, which was 1,200 responses, and that was 40 more responses than 2022, as our colleague population did increase it since 2022. In addition to this, our overall engagement increased by 4% to 73%, so that was compared to 69% in the previous survey in 2022. All of our questions resided in engagement increase since 2022, and colleague trust had improved. So we noticed that 41% of colleagues were now believing that action would be taken as a result of the survey, which was an increase in 7 since 2022. And then moving on to June this year, as I mentioned, we retained our commitment to undertake a full final all-colleague survey, which was open for 4 weeks in June, July of this year. And this survey included mostly the same questions as the full survey in November 2022 to enable us to track back any areas of improvement and development since then. However, we did take the opportunity to make some small changes, which I'll come on to speak a little bit about towards the end. Participation rate for our survey in June was 59%, and we had an overall engagement score of 70%. And that was in line with other higher education institutions' sector benchmark for this year, which was 71%. Again, we could see that colleague trust did further improve. So in terms of respondents believing action will be taken as a result of the survey, we had 42% of colleagues agreeing with that, which was an increase of 8% overall since the last full colleague survey in 2022. This is, though, still obviously a key area of focus for us, despite increases here. It is still only 42% of agreement, so we are obviously keen to hear how others might have helped to improve that as well. And we did also this year see increases in scores for the themes that were the focus of the university level action planning, which I'll come on to talk about as well. So moving on to action planning, whilst gathering feedback on a frequent basis allowed the university to better understand overall colleague engagement. Regularly communicating and acting on that feedback was key to ensure that we could improve that colleague trust. As I mentioned earlier, our survey in 2022 told us that 34% of colleagues believed that action would be taken as a result of their feedback. And then from the 2024 survey, that had increased by 8%. So it's obviously clear that developing action plans, reporting and communicating progress updates was a key enabler to colleague engagement. So in terms of some of the activity taking place at ENU to support action planning, at a university level, we have our SLT-led working groups. So these were introduced following the November 2022 survey, and that was to support university-wide action planning. I'll come on to talk a bit about these in a bit more detail around what those groups are focused on specifically. But also colleague engagement is a standing agenda item, as Lee mentioned, at the monthly SLT meetings, and it's also one of the university key strategic priorities. So we do complete strategic updates to ULT on colleague engagement on a quarterly basis, as well as updates to our university court. And then at a local level, we have colleagues that are identified as survey leads within each school service area, and they have access to the survey tool and the survey dashboard, and that enables them to analyse the data and to support the development of local action plans, which are visible on the tool to track results. This approach has been quite well received, and it's created transparency and clear lines of communication and accountability. We also have regular survey lead meetings that are in the diary, and that's just an opportunity for them to come together as a bit of a network to share ideas, good practice that might have worked well in other areas, to allow that to be replicated in other areas across the university, and to allow for any common themes to be identified or fed up into the SLT-led working groups if that's appropriate. Some local school service areas also have local engagement groups to ensure representation for all colleagues and help drive action plans. So as an example, within the people team, we have a local engagement group, and that just helps, we find it helps keep the momentum going and can bring the action plans to life. So I spoke in previous slides about university level action planning led by our SLT. So following the November 2022 survey, to act on colleague feedback, SLT identified and convened 3 working groups to develop actions against each of the following themes, which were emerging in both our quantitative and qualitative survey feedback. So these were themes around work wellbeing, collaboration, and recognising and rewarding great performance while managing underperformance, which is a bit of a mouthful. So the work wellbeing group, the aim of that group was to identify obstacles and to prevent colleagues from working effectively. Identify obstacles that prevent colleagues from working effectively and in a way that's best for their well-being. And just some of the actions that that group have focused on so far include exploring ways in which work is being delivered in line with the resource available, and identifying specific pain points to create efficiencies for colleagues. Through that, improvements to current processes to make colleagues' lives easier have been introduced, and just a couple of examples being access to calendars on personal devices and the launch of the academic portal. The group have also done some work around communicating micro efficiencies through the Bones colleague newsletter, so things that maybe not everyone might be aware of but can help to support day-to-day working lives. Our workload allocation model working group also reconvened, and that was in response to academic feedback on this model, and a number of policy reviews and updates are underway as well. In terms of the collaboration group, so this was mainly in response to the survey question around there being the different areas of the university working well together. So that was a lower scoring question for us, and therefore that group's aim was to support and embed successful collaboration across the university. And some of the actions that have been focused on in that group so far are a new intranet project. So that's been a huge piece of work at the university with lots of different teams coming together, and was responding to feedback, colleague feedback specifically around it being harder to find some information or knowing who or where to go for what. And this is starting to really come together now. The group have also focused on communicating, sharing a spotlight on projects at the university that have involved really good collaboration across the university. So just making sure to take the time to share that work that's been going on across the university. And then finally, the performance group. So that group was initially formed in response to low scores for the questions around poor performance being managed effectively in their area. However, after the group completed focus groups, that group realised that it also linked into recognition and colleagues feeling valued. So the group's aim is to explore how we can maximise performance and recognise great performance. And some of the actions that group have taken so far include implementation of a series of development sessions for managers, focusing on giving feedback, facilitating constructive performance discussions and having meaningful career conversations. And then some of the other activity includes employee relations framework, so working with managers locally to address concerns, and also a review of our university approach to recognition. So in response to colleague feedback, findings have been presented to SLT, including recommendations on in-the-moment recognition, recognition of long service, and formal recognition at a university and school service level. As I mentioned earlier, we have seen increases of within the survey questions which are aligned to each of these groups. So since 2022, the health and wellbeing theme, which includes 5 questions for us around wellbeing and workload, that increased by 5% overall. The specific question around poor performance being dealt with effectively in my area increased by 5% overall, and the question different parts of the university work well together increased by 1% overall. We are still hoping to see the benefits of that as the internet project is still underway and just kind of coming to conclusion at the moment. And then just a final note here that in 2023, the Pulse survey, we did notice a theme emerging around fairness and equality, and that was still coming through as a bit of a theme in the June 24 survey. So it has been agreed that an SLT group will do some further exploration around this and how it links to the other SLT groups. We also noted increases in the leadership theme this year. However, it is our lowest scoring theme overall, and from verbatim survey comments, it's been identified as a key enabler for collaboration. So the collaboration group are now considering that a little bit further as well. And then just wanted to give an overview of some of the communication methods we've used in terms of keeping our colleagues informed about engagement and progress of action plans. So we've used a variety of different communication methods from all colleague emails, so from our principal, our SLT members and our staff communications, to our principal's view. So this is a live event which takes place on campus on a quarterly basis, but is also recorded for colleagues to dial in or to catch up. There's also been SLT fireside chat videos, so they've been used mainly for the SLT working groups to give updates on the progress of their themed working group and to bring some of that activity to life. There's been local presentations, so that's just been to support dissemination of local results and action planning, and been mainly coordinated by myself and local survey leads. And then, as Lee mentioned, we are starting to try and explore different ways that we can present information to keep it engaging for colleagues and to keep it as a live topic. So we've explored the use of infographics and Microsoft Sway to present high-level results, and examples of this have been us reporting to our university cohort. Recently we used the Microsoft Sway methods, and we are just keen to continue to look at different methods of communication that we can use to keep colleagues informed and engaged on this. I've just included some screenshots in the slide here of some of the examples we've had. So we've got our fireside chat video with Conlan, our Director of People and Student Services, and we've got an email from our principal, Andrea Nolan, and then we've got our Your Voice colleague, Brandon, there on the screen as well. So just a bit of further information in terms of what we use the survey data for at a wider university level. So obviously, in terms of colleague engagement, it's important to comply with Fair Work First and providing an effective colleague voice through two-way dialogue, ongoing measurement of colleague engagement to meet the university's KPIs, and to develop a collaborative led culture where colleagues feel listened to and involved. And using the data, it also allows us to partner with subject matter experts across the university in areas such as health and wellbeing, inclusion, and the people team to help to target interventions where they would have the most impact on colleague experience, whilst at the same time protecting our colleagues' privacy. So for example, the survey data has also been used to help inform our recognition review, which we've mentioned throughout the presentation. So this has helped specifically in terms of considerations for length of service proposals. We've also able to use the data for our people manager capability, which Lee mentioned is a key focus for our people team this year. And we've been able to work with other colleagues across the university to help feed into EDI plans and wellbeing initiatives. So that just gives a bit of a picture in terms of what other activity the survey data is feeding into at a university level. And then in terms of some of the lessons that we've learned along the way and how we changed things as we went through our journey so far. So our panel file data, which we upload to the survey tool, we made some improvements to our data file for the survey following our first internally managed survey, and this was to support analysis in the survey dashboard and to give us some further insights. So some examples that we changed here focused on ensuring that our organogram levels matched what we want to report on, and this was responding to some challenges that we had in filtering and managing the data in our first survey. We considered our demographic information, so how we could potentially incorporate additional demographics into the panel file to shorten the demographic questions that colleagues needed to complete as part of the survey. And some examples included the addition of colleague groups, so professional services, academic, technical and research. And we also added length of service to our panel file, and that was to allow us to analyse the differences across different employee groups and to determine whether there was any correlation between length of service and engagement levels. We also considered the wording of some of our questions so that we could be clear about what we mean, who we're referring to and what we want to know. So through discussions and colleague feedback, there was some uncertainty around whether colleagues understood who we were referring to when we mentioned senior leaders in questions, and whether we're referring to school service area or the wider university leadership team. So we amended the wording of some of our questions. So the standard wording of here was replaced by the university. So I feel a strong sense of belonging here was changed to I feel a strong sense of belonging to the university, and working here makes me want to do the best I can was amended to working at the university makes me want to do the best I can. So just to give that clarity for colleagues answering the survey. In addition, we also separated out our key questions by local and university level for further insight. So this was specifically around questions around senior leaders and change management. And by making these amendments, we were able to provide clarity to colleagues and the opportunity for further analysis at a local level to help support the action plans going forward. And then just a little bit around what's next. So Jane had mentioned Prism AI before, and we've just recently had that added to our survey dashboard, which we already know will be hugely beneficial for us in terms of interpreting and theming our comments. So we have previously spent quite a bit of time on theming our comments, so we're really excited to be able to use that in future. We also recently used Prism AI to feed into our future approach to colleague recognition. So we used some of the summaries by demographic to support this that I mentioned earlier, that really helped in terms of forming recommendations around length of service as well. And then going forward, while we continue to go on our journey of continuous listening, we're reviewing current activities taking place and agreeing the right time to check in on key themes. So that'll involve us measuring SLT-like group themes and progress against those areas. And currently the university does already conduct a leaver survey as part of the colleague life cycle. So we are reviewing that exit process, and the intention will be to include that leaver survey on the People Insight platform. As well as this, we will be investigating the opportunity to develop an onboarding survey as well, and potentially exploring the potential of integration with our HR information system to support that life cycle approach as well. So I'll just thank you all and hand over to Jane now for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Anna. That was really great. What a journey you've been on, and it was great. Thank you for sharing so much detail as well around the action planning, telling us the detail of how you're action planning at the overall level and some of the impact that you're seeing with some of them results going up. So yeah, really appreciate your time today. So we've got time now to do some questions, but it'd be great if you had any. Do you have any questions or comments on what you've just heard? Any thoughts to ask as we're together to ask Anna and Lee? We'd love to hear what you're thinking. Do you do a similar approach in terms of your overall actions and locally as well? We have had a few questions that came up whilst you were registering to join the webinar. So if we maybe move on, and I'll ask a couple of these questions now and see if there's any that have come up during the session as well. If that's okay with you, Lee and Anna. So the first one that came in was around how you got buy-in to your approach and embedded the approach across the university.
Thanks, Jane. So yeah, with obviously Lee had mentioned earlier, colleague engagement and experience as a key priority for the university, and it's on our key strategic priorities. So from that, we do have buy-in from senior leaders. We have already discussed today the role in senior leaders in terms of action planning that's really driven by this. And the fact that the senior leaders are accountable for reporting progress, both in terms of the progress of the SLT working groups and as part of local activity on a monthly basis at SLT really helps with that as well. Also, again, we do have the local survey leads, which has been well received. It really helps to enhance accountability for each of the local areas and helps to drive action plans as well. Is there anything else you would add, Lee?
Yeah, I think the only other thing I would probably say, it does appear in local school and services plans. So in the planning round, we have a reflection on the previous year and what's been delivered in the previous year, as well as looking forward. And actually sitting in those planning meetings across the schools and services, they talk about engagement and what they've done around colleague engagement at a local level and what the future plans are. It also appears in our senior leadership team objectives. So each school and service has an individual KPI. So following the 2022 survey, as you'd expect, the overall score is X, but you'll have some school services that are higher than that and some that are lower than that. And we didn't feel it was fair to set the same target, and we wanted to set achievable improvement targets or maintenance targets. So each RSLT have KPIs within their what we call my contribution, which is our performance management process that they're measured against. And I think this year we've done more engagement with our trade unions this year, but that's part of the work that we've done to build the relationship with them. So actually they've been supporting us, encouraging their members to complete the survey and to give their feedback. So that's a really positive for us.
So you're getting that really strong data set that you can then use, and seeing that accountability. Like, I know some universities are at a different place in terms of accountability, but yeah. What you've mentioned in terms of that accountability, it's on objectives. You've given that detail of where you're looking to people to potentially be, recognizing that it's not a one size fits all. Yeah, sounds great, and you've really adapted that for the university. Okay, thanks for that. So the next question that came in was, I think you've covered actually a huge amount of this in terms of your approach to action planning and how they were developed and how they were delivered. So I don't know if I certainly felt there was a lot in there around your action plan. I don't know if you've got anything to add, or if we should move on to the next question.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions in the chat as well, Jane. I don't know if you've seen those.
Let's have a look. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see. Sorry. Yeah, I can see. Oh, yeah. So Anna, Ali's got a question on action planning. Who updates? Good question. Who updates the system? Managers updating the system. How do you name the actions? So how are you getting managers onto the action planning area?
So this is where we find the local survey leads can really help with this. They all have access to the dashboards and they can support with going into the tool and assigning the relevant action to the relevant survey questions. So that's where we think that they can really play a key role there in supporting that activity. And so that it helps with colleagues feeling that they're really part of that journey as well. And it's not just manager driven and manager led. They're really part of that process as well.
And we've changed the way that we're engaging with survey leads this year. So previously they had access and they would be working with their director, dean from the school service. But the group that Anna described earlier, bringing those people together to have that shared sense of community and best practice and sharing, because I think what brings it alive is somebody else has commented on the storytelling. So it's easy for me to talk about what we do within the people team because I'm part of that. So when I might present about, I can talk about actions that we put in place from 2022 that have just now become the norm. It's just become our way of working. And we've seen, as a result of those actions, scores in those themes increasing, but we've embedded our actions into every day. So it's really easy. So it's good to be able to share that, because I think sometimes the school services are like, we're not sure what we want to do, and obviously you're not going to send out another survey to ask people what they want to do, and it's trying to get the people that are involved and determining what the actions are and supporting that process.
Great, thanks for that. And do you do a big, you said we did campaign before the survey, or do you focus it locally?
We try to do that on a more ongoing basis. So as Anna talked about, our communication methods, so we try and not go from last year, this is everything that you said and we did. We try to focus more on the communication strategy throughout the year, with usually quarterly updates on what each of the theme groups are doing. But our principal has probably every 12 weeks principal views, and engagement is always on those slides as well. So she will talk about colleague engagement and what's happening at a university level as well. We encourage our senior leadership team to talk locally about that on an ongoing basis. So we don't tend to launch a survey saying this is everything we've done this year. We're trying to embed it throughout the year.
Yeah, it's continuous and it's scattered. Yeah, as you say, at different points. Fabulous. And Emma's asked from Keel, she's asked about when you amended those questions on leadership and who you were referring to, so you were more specific. Did you give the name of the group, or did you name people in that question as you made that change?
So this it's really interesting. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I've been involved in engagement surveys in the past, and I always find the senior leadership questions really, they get a lot of comments on in relation to, oh, well, that's not us, that must be the senior leadership team, or that must be the local level senior leadership team, which is one of the reasons why we decided to respond to that. So what we did, we said school leadership teams, and we provided a narrative of who would be on a school leadership team without naming the individuals. And then when we said we were referring to university leadership team, it was our senior leadership team, SLT, which Anna's talked about throughout. And actually we listed the people that were on that senior leadership team. So when you went into the platform, it provided an additional narrative around, we've changed these questions. This is why we've changed the questions. When we talk about school leadership team, this is who we're talking about. And when we talk about university leadership team, this is who we're talking about. So again, there's more accountability of our senior leaders in relation to how they're going to respond to the feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we see that. Thank you for that. And a question that's come in from Dan is, do you feel safe to speak up and challenge the way things are done? Do you ask that? Wondered if you'd done something similar.
Yeah, we do ask that question. We did the same with that question as well. So we separated that out and said, do you feel safe to speak up and challenge the way that things are done in your department or school? And then the other question was, do you feel safe to speak up and challenge the way that things are done at the university? So we had both university level and local department level. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm conscious we've got a couple more questions that have been sent in. So what I might do is just ask one more question, and then what we'll do is we'll go to wrap up, and the questions that we've not answered we'll cover off separately, and I'll send something separate on them, if that sounds okay. So in terms of the resource, like you've mentioned to you've shown us the structure, and just in terms of the continuous listening strategy, how is that resourced from your side?
Yeah, so we're a small team, but I'm delighted that we have a dedicated resource to engagement, although Anna does also have reward within her role, because I think there's so many structures, and I'm sure there'll be people on the call today that are doing engagement on top of something else. So we've got a real focus on it at the university, and our senior leadership team are bought into our continuous listening approach. We are very early in our journey, and we are looking, as Anna mentioned, to move levers into the platform. We're also going to move onboarding. Well, we're going to develop onboarding because we don't actually have anything at the moment. And we are just considering actually what does 2025 look like for us. So I think we'll always ask the 5 residing questions in engagement, but what themes might we measure when? So we're still working through that. We are, as Anna mentioned, she's only been in role for a few months, and actually she's been very focused on communicating the results from the June 24 survey and supporting our local school service leadership teams with that. So I don't know, Jane, maybe you'll invite us back in a year's time, and we can talk about where we've got to with that.
I would love to do that. That would be amazing. Yes, for sure. Let's do that. Okay, well, we'll move on. Thank you so much, Anna and Lee. Yeah, great to have you on, and yeah, certainly in the future, let's do that. So just before we wrap up then, I did want to just remind you that we've got a wealth of resources and materials available to you. So these are on our website. We're actually doing a big rejig of the website very soon, but they'll still be on our current website and will be on the new website as well, the new and improved website, which should be coming later this year. But there's all sorts of reports, there's playback webinars, obviously designed to help you stay informed, make the most of the tools and insights. Don't forget, there'll be a sharing of this session after the event, so keep an eye on your inbox for the details in your email. If you do have any questions, any feedback, if you want to feature on our Learn and Share going forward, then please, don't hesitate, get in contact and let me know. And we love hearing from you. So anything we can do to help, let me know. And as always, we don't just care about people, we care about the environment too. So for everyone on the call today, I think there was the peak about 40 people on the call. We will be planting a tree for each attendee, and we're also going to be planting 200 for Anna and Lee, your contribution to the session today. So thank you very much. So that's a pretty decent amount of trees, 240 trees that we'll be planting. Just to say thank you very much. Looking ahead, our next Learn and Share session is going to be on the 13th of February 2025. I don't think I've said that enough, 2025 just yet, but yeah, in 2 months' time, we've got our next Learn and Share, and we're actually going to be running a facilitated session focused on the future of staff listening. So it's going to be an event you won't want to miss. thank you very much again for your time today. Have a wonderful Christmas break. And if we don't speak before the end of the new year, look forward to connecting with you, continuing to work together in 2025 and beyond. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thanks for now.